Okay, so we're finally round to doing our long-term review of the Honor Magic4 Pro. One of the reasons it's taken us so long to get round to doing this review is the fact that it has cemented itself as one of my main devices, which I always use. Throughout the summer, I've used this whilst on road trips and whilst going around my daily life, and some pretty life-changing events. This is the phone I used when I was adopting my kittens, and it's filmed as well as taken lots of pictures of the two little monsters, which we call Ronan and Teal'c. The Honor Magic4 Pro is a true flagship. Some have said in the past that this has a bit of the Huawei Mate series DNA in it. And that may well be true, but that DNA is a bit of a distant connection to Huawei because unlike the Huawei phones, this is running on a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip, which is the flagship chipset from Qualcomm for most flagships in 2022. The flagship status of the Honor Magic4 Pro doesn't just come from the spec sheet and the numbers for the chipset and everything else. The build quality is a clear indicator that this is a premium smartphone, and the price indicates that it is as well. The Honor Magic4 Pro has a flat top and bottom, and the screen, as well as the back, curves on all four sides. It is truly a very, very refined industrial design, with glass sandwiching an aluminium frame and aluminium buttons, and this lovely curved OLED screen, which is truly a pleasure to use. The Honor Magic4 Pro on the back is made out of reinforced or hardened glass, just the same as the front. And in the model that Honor provided us with has the cyan colouring, which is lovely to look at, but is definitely a bit of a fingerprint magnet. It's been very difficult to keep this clean, even for filming for Tech Travel Geeks. But in day-to-day use, I have been using it with the case we reviewed here on the Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel from Panto House or something like that. I don't remember the exact name, but it's the case I've been using since not long after getting the device. So why did the Honor Magic4 Pro become one of my main smartphones of 2022? We've mentioned the cameras. We'll go into that in a bit more depth in a moment. But the overall ergonomics, when we spoke about that curved back and front and that lovely screen, were the main factor. The other one is the software. Magic UI, the operating system that Honor makes and maintains, is one of the driving factors. I used to be a regular Huawei user, and Huawei's MUI, just like the rest of Honor, is something that Honor have built upon once they left Huawei. The operating system is simple, easy to use, has powerful additions to it, and is very, very familiar to me. And if you're someone who used to use, say, a Huawei P30 Pro or a Huawei Mate 20 Pro, this may be the perfect upgrade for you. It runs on top of Android 12, there's expected updates to Android 13 as well, and further updates to Magic UI, the particular Android distribution that Honor make. This comes with all the usual features and Honor's own version of Material U, so theming throughout the operating system, decent dark mode settings, and just generally a very, as I said, familiar user interface. That user interface is very familiar in the cameras as well. In the cameras, we have quite the powerful camera setup, and the software that powers it not only gives you plenty of special modes to use, but it also has a very good inbuilt photo editor, which you can use to edit your photos once you're in the Honor gallery. It is truly a standout feature of Honor smartphones. So we're talking about cameras. On paper, the Honor Magic4 Pro is pretty amazing, and in practice it is as well. The main sensor is a 50 megapixel f/1.8 camera. It's a standard wide-angle lens, which takes in a lot of light, and paired with Honor's Magic UI software and that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset, it is definitely a standout camera setup. Paired with that, you have Honor's AI camera software, which automatically detects subjects and scenes. For example, cat mode worked perfectly. I've never had it go wrong. I have even struggled to get it to trigger panda mode with Rodney, my cat, who regularly used to do that with older Honor devices and Huawei devices. So the main sensor, as you've probably seen from the examples that our Chief Aperture Officer Lukasz has edited into this video, are very, very good, especially in good lighting conditions. The strange thing is that on the spec sheet, this camera does not have optical image stabilization. And though it doesn't have that, the software tuning as well as the decent sensor have not made that an issue. Even in low light conditions, the Honor Magic4 Pro still takes amazing pictures. There is a little bit of softness once you start pixel peeping, but nothing to complain about. The Honor Magic4 Pro's other camera, the other main sensor, is again a 50 megapixel one. This is an ultra wide one though. And from what we've been told by Honor, what actually happens when you use that lens is that the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset and image signal processor actually use the wide angle lens and the main one at the same time and perform image fusion to put the two images together and give you better images. The only difference I've noticed, apart from the wide angle, is that they're slightly darker than from the main sensor, which is not unusual with wide angle lenses because of the physics of how light is treated. But pictures from the wide angle lens are very, very usable, and that lens also enables amazing video capture. We'll go into that in a little bit. In the middle of that round camera sensor array, there is a 3.5 optical zoom periscope lens, which works in tandem with the other ones so that you can dynamically zoom whilst not only taking pictures, but videos as well. And just as with the standard wide-angle lens, Honor perform what they call image fusion and work with multiple lenses at once to give you the best photographic outcome. I have to say, for zooming, it's pretty impressive, up to 10 times zoom. Things get a bit grainy and a bit too soft going a little bit further in, but being able to take 100 times zoom pictures is always a novelty, especially on a smartphone. So photograph-wise, I've been very happy with this, and the Honor Magic4 Pro was an important part of my life whilst adopting the kittens, Ronan and Teal. Some of the pictures I sent to my wife to tell her about the ginger kitten I had met at the Lothian cat rescue place were taken on the Honor Magic4 Pro and sent to her over Telegram. This is what sped up our decision. This is how a smartphone made our life better. Now, when it comes to video, the Honor Magic4 Pro can take 4K video at 30 and 60 frames per second. It can also take what is called log video, as in using log profiles. Our Chief Aperture Officer can go into this a bit more detail in a dedicated video. Essentially, it gives you a flatter video that can then be edited either on the Honor Magic4 Pro itself or in Premiere Pro or whatever video editing software you have to give it better color profiles or to tune it to the rest of your video editing. That video is usually very, very good. I've had very few issues with it. But one major one, which was present whilst we were running the pre-release software, before the release of the phone, and that then appeared after a subsequent firmware update, is dropped frames in the first few seconds of recording any 4K video. It's quite frustrating, especially if you're in a spontaneous video recording situation. There are definitely some dropped frames there whilst you start recording your 4K video. But after about 3-4 seconds, that stops happening. So if you are buying an Honor Magic4 Pro, do be aware of this video issue. And to get over it, my advice is just start recording before you usually would so that you get over that stuttering video bit, and then you'll have some really nice, smooth, very well detailed 4K video in whatever frame rate you choose from the settings. So as far as the cameras go, the Honor Magic4 Pro is a true flagship. It's not as simple as, say, the Google Pixel 6 Pro or the Pixel 7 Pro as point and shoot, but with a little bit of composition effort, with a little bit of tapping on your subject to make sure autofocus and white balance are in place, which is really simple with the Magic UI interface, the cameras are astounding. I really like the Honor Magic4 Pro cameras. So cameras are always an important thing for tech travel geeks, especially when you're traveling. One other thing that is important when traveling is battery life. The Honor Magic4 Pro on paper has a relatively small battery. That's a 4,600 mAh battery. Sadly, on paper that looks bad, but in real life that's not as noticeable. Because of Magic UI's relatively aggressive power-saving function, it essentially makes up for that lack of milliamp hours in the battery. In normal day-to-day use, even with some heavy video gaming or, more importantly, photography, the Honor Magic4 Pro got me through the day and left me with between 10 and 20% battery every day. If you're traveling a lot or you're on a very long trip, I'd recommend having a power bank, or if you have access to power ports, I'd say use the included 100-watt charger. Yes, you heard that right. The Honor Magic 4 Pro has fast charging, and it's insanely fast. It charges with the included charger and wire at 100 watts. And if you have a special charger and the Qi wireless charger, it also charges wirelessly at 100 watts. Now, you need to be in optimal conditions and your battery needs to be completely empty to get there. But the fact that you can almost fully charge your phone in just over half an hour is still a novelty to me. But it changes the way you think about using your smartphone and how and when you charge. I really hope other companies, especially the likes of Samsung, move up from what they call super fast charging, which is 25 watts, to what Honor and Xiaomi are showcasing with a 100-watt plus charging, which is truly mind-boggling. Now, that charging happens through a USB Type-C port on the bottom of the device. As we saw in our unboxing and first impressions video, the Honor Magic 4 Pro does not have a Courage port. It doesn't have a 3.5mm audio port. But through Bluetooth, that's not as big of an issue nowadays as it used to be. And when you're using the Honor Magic 4 Pro as a device to play music without any earphones, the sound quality is very, very good. It's nice and well-rounded, it has good bass, and very, very clear. I was recently using this on a trip to London, and the sound quality was good enough to listen to a podcast whilst in the shower. Now, the screen on the Honor Magic 4 Pro is what you'll be interacting with the most. There's multiple reasons for that. Let's start with the screen itself. It is an OLED display with up to 120Hz refresh rate, and it's capable of HDR+ reproduction. A key part of that OLED screen, it has LTPO technology. That means that it can adjust its refresh rate dynamically through the settings in Magic UI to save battery life and give you a more consistent experience. That means it can range anything from 1 refresh of the screen per minute, such as when you have an always-on display, to up to 120Hz whilst watching certain type of content or using optimized apps. It is a high-resolution screen. The specification is that it's 1312 by 2848. So that's essentially a display which is Quad HD, but the key thing to bear in mind is that if you have dynamic battery saving mode on, it will scale the resolution up and down as needed to give you a better experience and save battery. I've not noticed a particular difference whilst in that dynamic mode, and I've noticed no difference in the battery life because I've left everything to the Magic UI to sort that out. Now, the top of the screen has a particularly long selfie camera pill, or selfie dodge. That's because it's not just a standard selfie camera. There's a high-resolution 12-megapixel selfie camera which takes really good pictures and is capable of recording 4K video. But there's also a time-of-flight sensor which enables face unlock. So not only can you use the fingerprint reader that's under the screen in the lower part of the screen, it also has a reliably safe and secure face unlock option. Another key feature of the Magic 4 Pro, as well as face unlock and that fingerprint scanner, is there's a dedicated security chip that handles all the credentials that you save in Magic UI, as well as all your biometrics for the device. Even though the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 has its own dedicated security chip, Honor have built in their own separate one. So, interesting product choice here, but that just shows you how well specified the Honor Magic 4 Pro is. We need to look at the Honor Magic 4 Pro in the context of the market it's in. At launch, the Honor Magic 4 Pro was just under £1,000 in terms of price. Now, for the specification we had with 256GB of storage, not expandable, and 8GB of RAM, that's a fair price to pay. But in the latter part of 2022, especially around Black Friday or before Christmas, you may find some special deals on the Honor Magic 4 Pro. And if it's anything close to under the price of the Google Pixel 7 Pro, it's one to seriously consider. You have some extra hardware specs, maybe not the easiest camera to just point and shoot, but with a bit of effort and a bit of composition and maybe a portable tripod, the Honor Magic 4 Pro is truly a camera phone king. I really enjoyed my time with it and will carry on using it as one of my main smartphones for photography whilst travelling in the rest of 2022. Now, within that context and that price range, overall, the Honor Magic 4 Pro is a smartphone I can recommend. My only warning is that the battery life may be disappointing if you don't have access to be able to regularly top up the battery with a fast charging or a power bank with you, especially when traveling, and that video bug where it drops frames at the beginning of 4K video recording. I haven't managed to reproduce this in full high definition video recording, but if you're a creator, someone who produces content and publishes it to platforms like YouTube, TikTok and others, those drop frames may be a deal breaker for you. So overall, thanks to Honor for providing us with this review sample of the Honor Magic4 Pro. For now, I'll wrap up this video. We hope you've enjoyed our review. If you'd like to see more content about Honor smartphones, about smartphones that we review here at Tech Travel Geeks, gadgets, accessories, and anything we think makes the travel experience better, please do subscribe to Tech Travel Geeks here on YouTube. For now, thanks for watching and goodbye from me.